The morning of February 11th, 1979, was unusually calm. The sun peeked over the horizon in Lahaina, its warm rays gilding the Pacific in shimmering gold. The trade winds had died down, and the normally restless sea looked almost inviting. I am Michelle,
And I am Isaiah.
and this is Shifting Veils, where we talk about the unexplained, possibly paranormal, and always strange.
In this week's episode, we are going to discuss one of the most baffling maritime disappearances in modern history. And if you like that sort of thing, maybe give us a like, share, and follow. And don't forget, if you have your own spooky story, send us an email. We may feature your story in a future episode. For five friends who had grown up on the island and spent most of their lives on the water, it seemed like the perfect day to go fishing. Ben Jameson, Ralph Malaikini, Peter
Sounds good.
Hanchett, Scott Mormon, and Patrick Wosner were all locals, young men in their 20s and early 30s, full of laughter and camaraderie. Most of them were seasoned fishermen and surfers. They had no intention of going far, just a quick trip a few miles offshore in a small white fiberglass motorboat called the Sarah Joe, which belonged to Ralph. The 17-foot Boston Whaler style boat was sturdy, though not built for long hauls. The men brought minimal supplies, some fishing gear, a bit of food and water, expecting to return by the afternoon. As they launched from Hana, nobody on shore suspected it would be the last time anyone would see them alive.
The weather turned with eerie speed. By mid-morning, a sudden storm whipped across the Pacific. Heavy winds and pounding rain reduced visibility to near zero. The ocean, once tranquil, turned violent. Waves towered as high as buildings. Locals later called it one of the worst storms to strike the region in a decade. When the men didn't return that evening, families grew worried. By the next day, a massive search and rescue operation had been launched. It became the largest air-sea search in Hawaiian history at the time. Planes and helicopters swept over 70,000 square miles of ocean. The Coast Guard combed the coastline. Hundreds of volunteers joined the effort, including friends, family, and strangers from across the islands. But there was nothing. No life vests, no debris, no oil slick, no Sarah Joe. After 5 days, the search was called off. It was as if the men and their boat had simply evaporated. Grief settled over Hana like fog. The five men were memorialized in local services. Their families reluctantly accepted the tragedy. Some whispered theories, perhaps they had been swept far out to sea. Perhaps they had made it to a remote island, but with no evidence, hope faded.
Nearly a decade passed. Then, in 1988, something unthinkable happened. Marine biologists were conducting a routine wildlife study on Taongi Atoll, a desolate, uninhabited speck of land in the Marshall Islands, nearly 2,300 miles west of Hawaii. As they hiked through the brush of the island's outer reef, they stumbled across something jarringly out of place. A fiberglass boat, half buried in the sand, bleached by the sun and battered by years of exposure. The faded registration numbers were still faintly legible. It was the Sarah Joe. Immediately, a new search began, this time not for missing men, but for answers. Just a few hundred feet from the boat, researchers found a shallow grave, neatly constructed from coral stones. Inside was a human skeleton, partially wrapped in layers of paper, almost like makeshift shrouds. A cross made of driftwood marked the site. There were no other graves nearby. The U.S. government exhumed the remains. Dental records confirmed and Dental records confirmed the identity. Scott Mormon, the only one of the five who was not born in Hawaii, but had moved there from California. He was also the only one not wearing a life vest the day they vanished.
But the discovery raised more questions than it answered. How had the Sarah Joe traveled over 2,000 miles without being seen? Had the men made it to the island alive, only for Scott to perish while the others moved on? Who buried him? When? What deepened the mystery was the fact that the island had been searched by American officials just a few days earlier, and no boat or grave had been reported at that time. That suggested either the boat had only recently washed ashore or someone had deliberately brought Scott's body there years after his death. The makeshift grave was not something the storm could have created. Someone, maybe a survivor, maybe someone who discovered the remains later, had taken the time to construct it. The layers of paper used to cover Scott's body were later identified as pages from a Chinese language book, adding another strange element. Had a passing fisherman or ship found Scott adrift and given him a respectful burial on this remote island? Or had one or more of his friends survived long enough to do so? There were no signs of the other four men. No more bones, no more graves, no clues in the Sarah Joe to indicate where they had gone. The mystery of what happened during those missing years has never been solved. To this day, the Sarah Joe remains one of the most baffling maritime disappearances in modern history. It lacks the scale of the Mary Celeste or the USS Cyclops, but for the small town of Hana and for those who study the ocean's unpredictable nature, it remains a chilling reminder of how easily the sea can erase lives and confound logic. In Hana, a memorial stands to honor the 5 men lost that day. Tourists rarely ask about it, but locals haven't forgotten. Some still tell stories of strange lights on the water, of dreams where the 5 men walk ashore, smiling, saying they're finally home. It's really weird. I wonder, like, I can't stop wondering where the other guys are. Like, why is there only one grave?
I mean, he. So it makes me wonder because the boat washed ashore on the beach in that first place. If Scott was the only one that made it, if there was maybe, I mean, storms on the ocean are pretty. What do you call it? They happen just suddenly,
Yeah, they do.
and so it makes me wonder if everybody else got washed off the boat and he was the one that was able to get the boat back to shore. But that's just kind of a thought.
But then who buried him?
That's yeah. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
And the paper that he's wrapped in, is that significant? Or, I mean, would it be I mean, I just wonder, is it significant as in like a passing fisherman or boat is going by and, they have this book,
I
you
mean,
know?
yeah. I mean, anybody could have had that particular book, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, it was pages from a Chinese book, and it said possibly from a Bible or Buddhist text. So, yeah, anybody could have
I was
it.
gonna, yeah. Anybody
Any,
that's studying that belief system or anything like that could have had that book. But why wrap a person in it is what I'm curious on. If it's just another ritual for
I don't
sending
know if
off,
it,
maybe.
I don't know if it would even be like a ritual. Maybe it was just a, a way of, wrapping him in a shroud. Like that's all that they had was
Hmm.
paper. They're just trying to, I don't know, but a lot of care was taken into his burial.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
that's good. Sorry.
no, it's okay. I think it's, you know, even if it was by a stranger, a lot of care was taken into his burial. Um, I don't think, I mean, and you really couldn't go out on this fishing trip planning to bury him and take supplies.
Hmm.
Obviously, it was shipwrecked or whatever happened to it. So it's like they just used whatever they had on hand. But we don't know if it was, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
Because if it
that
was one of the other guys, they wouldn't necessarily have this dry book
right.
to.
Well, I mean that's the other thing is the amount of respect put into the burial is what kind of it interests me because even close friends will just be like, "All right, dig a 3, 4 foot hole and let's throw him in and cover him back up and put rocks on top so no animal digs it up." They don't
Right.
necessarily get something out and be like, we need to put a shroud on him." That all this there was care taken into the burial.
So it makes me wonder if it's someone from the main islands. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I I'm not Hawaiian. I know some people from that direction. It seems like um, they treat um, things like that a little bit differently. And I mean, we're pretty respectful of our dead here on our soil too. But maybe I don't know. Maybe it was just maybe they're from the main island and they were just being respectful. Maybe not even know exactly who he was.
Hmm.
Just come across the body, or it could just be a fisherman passing by.
I mean, why wasn't the body reported? You know.
That's true, and that's another question. You know, sometimes people don't do things because they may have no involvement, but they're just afraid that they'll be questioned and be accused of something they didn't do. So fear sometimes keeps people from reporting things.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Or maybe there was no means of the ability to like report it. You know, there was probably uh, limited access to communication, so they just said we'll bury it now, and when we get back, we can report it or anything, and then it slipped their mind. I don't know.
I don't understand how the boat went so long without being seen. They were in mass out there searching. And I'm sure they went to these small little islands and they're out on the ocean and they don't see it anywhere. So, they're in the end probably assuming this boat is just this small little boat has been obliterated by whatever weather. But it wasn't. It was washed ashore years after the disappearance, you know. And if that happens and Scott's body is still on it, are there even remains there to bury?
Right?
So it makes me think, was he alive
You
all
think he
this
buried
time?
himself?
No, he couldn't bury
Just
himself.
covered himself with blankets to stay
Maybe
warm?
him and some. I don't know, man. It's so weird. I don't know. I don't know. And then there's a small spot in the back of my mind that thinks of foul play among the guys. They're supposed to be like best friends, you know?
I mean, there's always that one in the best friend group where it's just like, hey, let's not invite them. Oh, I've already invited them. Well, shit.
We've watched too many documentaries of true crime where there's,
Mm-hmm.
especially, there was one where it was like three girls. Was that like the Slender Man thing where the
It
three
probably
girls were
was.
hanging out and the
Took him
two
out to the
attacked the
woods.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it's just in the back of my mind to think about that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's no trace of the other men have ever been found. And that's not to say people can't disappear.
I was gonna say this was a remote island that was found in the first place. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could have. They realistically, if we go that route, they could have had some other form of transportation sitting on that remote island,
Could
and they
have.
set this whole thing up in the first place.
Yeah, but weather is just, I don't know.
But I mean, that's the thing. There doesn't have to be any weather. They disappeared for a while. They probably, made it look like they crash landed on this island, right?
And
Or
there,
washed up ashore on it. And then they, did whatever they did with their best friend, buried
mhm.
him, and just hung out on the island for a while just to disappear. And I put, bunny ears around that, disappear for a while. And they took their transportation back off to wherever, and they then themselves disappeared.
I know one theory was that foreign fishermen, possibly, probably Taiwan or Chinese, stumbled upon the drifting boat and his body years after the disappearance, and then buried him with cultural reverence because of the Chinese paper.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe they didn't report it because they were illegally fishing in restricted waters. That's another reason why not to report it.
True.
But Jesus, I mean, years later, you find this drifting boat. How many storms has it gone through? How much of a body is there left to bury? I mean, it's got to be skeletal, you
I
would
was gonna say,
think.
if they found a full skeleton, then I'm sure there was enough. But
It'd just be skeletal. wrapped
Right.
in paper.
But I mean, you could still take dental. I mean, this wasn't that long ago, was it? I mean, they could have got dental
1988.
records. In 88, they had dental records then.
Yeah, they did. That's how they figured out who it
Yeah.
was. But
So
I don't know. Maybe there was like some type of time anomaly, like the Bermuda Triangle type thing.
could be. I mean, I'm not
There's a
against fringe
time
theories.
skip.
I'm never against fringe theories ever.
There's a time skip somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. It's just a weird one. I don't know. I wonder about the other guys. What happened to them?
Uh,
I
if it's restricted fishing waters, there could have been pirates out there too.
There
They could have
could have
stumbled
been.
across a whole thing where like there was probably illegal doings going on and just happened to cross the wrong path.
Hmm.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there were pirates out there. Jack
Pirates
was
are a
out
real
there.
thing. No, pirates
Oh,
are a real thing.
I know they are. My brother was in the Coast Guard. Yeah, I know they are for sure. They're a
I,
little more scary than the movie
I'll
ones.
say they just don't have peg legs most of the time. I mean,
No,
some of them maybe have like prosthetics, but I
I
mean,
think they
peg
all do have
legs.
a problem with rum, but they're a little more scary than the ones in
I
the
mean, I
movies.
don't blame them. Rum is,
No, neither. It's good.
it's very good.
The story of the Sarah Joe is not just a tale of a boat lost at sea. It's a haunting reminder of how the ocean can both reveal and conceal. Five friends set out on what should have been a routine fishing trip, only to vanish without a trace. And nearly a decade later, when the sea finally gave something back, it raised more questions than it answered. Scott Mormon's grave, carefully built on a barren island thousands of miles from home, suggests that someone cared, whether it was a fellow crewmate, a stranger, or a quiet act of compassion by an unknown sailor. But the silence surrounding the other four men and the path of the Sarah Joe took to arrive there remains one of the Pacific's enduring enigmas. For the families of Ben Jameson, Ralph Melachini, Peter Hanchett, Scott Mormon, and Patrick Wosner, closure may never come. The ocean does not always give back what it takes, and when it does, it often speaks in riddles. To this day, the Sarah Joe serves as both a maritime mystery and a quiet memorial, a story not just about disappearance, but about the enduring human need to understand what happened and to remember those who never made it home.